And that's why I like working in a research lab as well, especially on campus, because it was like an easy way to like go from class to research and practice because it was all on campus, which was really helpful.
Welcome to Al Speak, where we discuss what's going on at the Temple College of Engineering. I'm your host, Casey Tinney, who will let you in behind the scenes with our Temple Engineering faculty, students, and alumni. Today, we're excited to welcome soon-to-be College of Engineering graduate, Diana Tiburcio. Diana, thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Awesome. So you just finished classes. You said you were taking your grad pics today. So we'll just go over, I have that you're a mechanical engineering major, chemistry minor, right? And then you're on the fencing team.
Yeah.
So I'm very tempted to just go through and read through all the awards you've been given just in the past week through your time here, but we'll come back to those. So I guess we'll start at the beginning. What made you choose Temple and what made you choose mechanical engineering?
Yeah, it was actually very much so fencing. So my high school fencing coach actually was a Temple fencing alumni. So when I started the whole like college application process, she was like, just apply to Temple, like submit your like athletics request form, things of that nature. Just in case. And then, yeah, one thing led to another, and then I was like, I did a visit here at Temple. It was actually crazy. It was the day before they closed down for COVID.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I like did my visit. I like met a ton of the people. I met Danielle in engineering advising, and I met some of the honors college people and a lot of the athletic like faculty and things of that nature, and like met the team and everything. And I was like, I fell in love. I was just so excited. I felt like Temple had so many opportunities to offer, and it's just incredible. So, yeah.
So it was really fencing that brought you to Temple. And then what kind of made you choose mechanical engineering? Did that just fit with what was offered at Temple, or was that always a goal?
Yeah, so I actually started as an environmental engineering major.
Okay.
And then as I kind of progressed through my first year, I added a chemistry minor initially because I knew after taking it was like introduction to chemistry, I was like, oh, I actually really like this. So I added the chemistry minor, and I think that was going to be like beneficial for my career. And then what kind of happened is a few things. So like I did an internship after my first year at like a civil construction company like Whiting Turner, and then I had also started working in a research lab like my spring semester my freshman year. So those two kind of combined, I kind of realized that I didn't really want to go into like environmental engineering particularly in like the workforce. And then with my research experience, I also realized that I really wanted to go in for research. And then in my lab, there's also a chemical engineering major, and this is like my sophomore year now. And she was like an exchange student from Italy. Okay. And she was telling me to like finish all her coursework. She was actually taking a lot of mechanical engineering courses. So then that got me started thinking. So I like looked into chemical engineering, looked at some of the coursework, and that's kind of why I chose mechanical engineering, because there's a lot of like lineup with it. I feel like mechanical engineering gives you a really big, like good baseline of all types of different engineering, and you can really take it wherever you want. So yeah, that's why I kind of picked up mechanical engineering, chemistry in hopes of pursuing chemical engineering for my career.
Got it. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
It's very cool. So you switched from environmental, did you say going into your sophomore year was when you made the switch?
Yeah. Well, during my sophomore year I made the switch.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you said you were in a research lab, you did an internship during the summer. How were you balancing research, fencing, academics? How did you balance all of that going on?
I feel like I've definitely always liked to be quite busy. I feel like that's how I like my schedule to be. Honestly, initially, since my freshman year was like COVID, training itself was light, and then we couldn't compete that often. So my workload was already relatively light, and I feel like there's also like just like freshman level courses, while they are decently hard, it was like COVID time and like not too bad. So I feel like I had a decent amount of time to just work on like my resumes, cover letters. Like I talked a lot with Leslie with help for that. And then yeah, so that just kind of helped me have time. I met people at Whiting Turner during like our career fair. And so yeah, I just kind of like threw myself a lot into trying to figure out like more career things in my freshman year. And then I just kind of wanted some money, honestly. So I got a job at like a research lab here in the environmental engineering department. So yeah.
Money is always a good motivating factor too. So what kind of research were you doing? What experience did you gain?
Yeah, so I initially started in Dr. Erica McKenzie's lab. I started at her lab and I was just doing like basically like routine things, like cleaning all the collection supplies that they had. Like they do monthly collection samples of like groundwater and like surface water runoff. So I'd just be cleaning them. So like just did like hydrochloric acid baths and things of that nature, like just really getting into the workflow of like some type of research procedures. And then as I progressed, like I started doing basic just like pH measurements, turbidity measurements, things of that nature for them. And working in that lab made me realize that I really liked working in a lab, but I kind of wanted more solution-oriented research versus just more so identifying and quantifying a problem such as pollution. And it focused on like heavy metals in groundwater and runoff, specifically between the like Delaware Highway and then the Schuylkill, or no, I-95 Highway and then the Delaware River. Yes.
Okay.
So I was trying to see like how traffic could like lead to heavy metal contamination. So that kind of like got me started in research. And then after that first semester, I applied for an undergrad like research program. I kind of forget what it was called, but that was for the following year. And then I started in Dr. Harry Yuan's lab, which is called the BioNext lab. So then I started working on electroactive like forward osmosis for nutrient recovery from livestock wastewater. So I did that for like a year and a half or so. So yeah, I really liked that project. That was like really giving me a lot of like the solution-oriented research that I was interested in. And then as I was progressing through there, that was like during my sophomore year. So that's when I decided I wanted to do more chemical engineering. So then I applied to the MARC program, which is the Maximizing Access to Research Careers. So that allowed me to stay in Dr. Yuan's lab for my summer going into my junior year. And then in that time, I was also started looking for some other labs, specifically in the chemistry department, since I kind of wanted to do some more chemistry-focused work. And now I'm currently working in Dr. Ann Valentine's research lab, which is a bioinorganic chemistry lab. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, lots of research all over the place.
Lots of different research. So you mentioned money in the research lab. So you're getting paid to do research that's also helping your resume. Kind of how did that help you in college? You know, I don't know if a lot of people know that undergraduates are getting paid for some of the research they're doing.
Yeah, of course. I think, yeah, that was one of the best decisions I've ever made, honestly, because it did give me a bit more cushion when it came to the financial side. And yeah, like it's definitely like minimal wage, and then depending on the lab, like your hours will vary, which is a little bit difficult because you don't get like consistent hours sometimes. But for me, it was kind of the perfect way to get some flowing income while like training and everything. And then for me, the other thing that opened up a lot was just like my research led to a lot of scholarships, which was really beneficial for just like paying tuition and everything. So Maximizing Access to Research Careers is an NIH funded program that actually like basically has a tuition scholarship in addition to a monthly stipend that it provides. I was doing URP during my sophomore year before I got MARC, which also helps you get like a monthly stipend for doing research for a professor. So yeah.
Okay, got it. Mm-hmm. So you're doing all this research. When are your fencing practices coming in? That's what I'm a little curious about. How is the schedule looking day to day with your classes too?
So it kind of depended because we had a coach switch during my junior year. So freshman and sophomore year, we'd have afternoon practices. So they'd be like, I think they would start at like 4 p.m. or something like that, and they'd go, I think it was like 4 to 7 or like 3 to 7 sometimes. So we'd have practices there. It depends when we're on like in season or out of season. So we'd either have practice 4 days a week with lift 3 days a week, which is like an hour, or we do practice like 5 times a week and lift 2 times a week. So yeah, and then the past 2 semesters, they're in the morning. So they'd start around like 6:45 to 7 in the morning, and they'd go until like 11-ish. So yeah, that's just
Got it.
Fit it in, and then yeah, you kind of like the athletic advising department helps you like figure out classes and everything so that it fits with your training schedule. But yeah,
that's awesome. So the labs you were working in were flexible with that practice schedule.
Yeah. And that's why I like working in a research lab as well, especially on campus, because it was like an easy way to like go from class to research and practice because it was all on campus, which was really helpful.
That is nice. So you mentioned the MARC research program. Is that it's funded by NIH? Is that associated with Temple as well, or was that a separate program you found outside of Temple?
Yeah, it's like there's a Temple, I wouldn't call it a chapter, but like Temple has its own grant that comes through the NIH. So yeah, it's a Temple program.
And then how did you find out about it?
One of my teammates, Naomi Ross, was actually in the MARC program. I think one of her professors told me about it, and then I remember we were just hanging out one day, and she's like, yeah, I applied for this program, I don't know. And then she started telling me about it. I was like, that is so cool. Like, what are you talking about? Like, she was very nonchalant that she got it. So then, like, from the moment she told me, I think once again, like, sophomore year, I was like, I really wanted to join the program. So yeah,
that's awesome that you had, you know, kind of your team as a resource too to help you through this stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So we talked about the MARC program. You also last year were named a Goldwater Scholar, and you were recently named a Fulbright Scholar, which is amazing. Congratulations again on that. How did you go about figuring out what these fellowships even were? I feel like a lot of students don't really know what kind of opportunities fellowships have. How did you find out about them?
Yeah, of course. Dr. Barbara Gorka, she is incredible at what she does. Yeah, so I remember another connection, like some person that I met with some of the few classes, like first few classes that I took was like, hey, you should look into like fellowships advising, like they have a lot of these cool opportunities that you can apply to. Because when I had first come in, I was looking for like a lot of scholarship opportunities. And just from what he said, I was like, okay, I'll look into it. So I like checked out the fellowships website, and I just started going through a lot of the things. And Dr. Gorka had like open office hours, so I just like set up a one-on-one with her to just like discuss everything. I think initially I was like interested in the Udall scholarship or fellowship, and then after we had a conversation, she was like, maybe not that one, but like there's all of these other ones that might be really suitable for you. And she just kind of helped me with the process, is just like kind of finding what fellowships would be best for me and just like helping me with the whole application process a ton. So yeah, she and that office are just incredible. Yeah.
That's awesome. So that's the Office of Fellowships at Temple.
Yeah, fellowship advising, yeah.
Got it. So let's start with the Goldwater Scholarship. Kind of what did that entail? What did you do? You completed that this past summer, right?
Yeah, so it was actually just like, it kind of just gives you funding depending on when you get it for like your last 2 years or your final year of college. So yeah, it basically like it was just they gave you money. There wasn't like you didn't have to do any work with it or anything. But yeah, the process was pretty long, but I think it was like really beneficial for me to do. I actually had tried applying for it in my sophomore year.
Okay.
So it would like provide finances for junior year and senior year. And I was nominated like on the Temple-wide basis. So yeah, so you make an initial application, and then a board of advisors kind of looks over it for Temple, and they choose usually like 4 to 5 individuals that they then like sponsor for the national application. So I was selected for Temple after that first round, and you get to like continue revising and changing up your essays, and then you send it off to like the national application. So unfortunately, like, I didn't get it that first time that I tried, but that was really nice because I had already gone through the whole application process, so I was able to, like, refine it even more for this following year, so my junior year. And then once again, I just worked with Dr. Gorka a lot and a lot of, like, my advisors in research and things for the application, and I resubmitted, got, like, reselected for Temple, and then, yeah, I sent it off to the national one, and then I got it, so yeah.
That's awesome. So what didn't you that you then went to Stanford for that research, right, this past summer?
Yeah, so that was a different program actually.
Okay.
So through the MARC program, they recommend you to do like 1 summer of research like outside of Temple. So through MARC, I kind of got a lot of advising and mentorship for how to apply those opportunities. So for that, I would just go online and look up like summer programs at different universities, and specifically Stanford had this one that was called like Summer Undergraduate Research Fellowship. So, and this one was specifically for like engineering.
Okay.
So yeah, I applied for that. I applied for chemical engineering laboratories, and I got matched with someone, and yeah, I really loved it. I got matched with Dr. William Tarpey, which is like a chemical engineering, once again, like resource recovery from wastewater sources lab.
Okay.
So yeah.
That's awesome. So you spent this past summer junior year at Stanford doing
Yes.
that. You completed that research. this past summer, and then you were recently named a Fulbright recipient. So what does that entail? That's different from the Goldwater Scholarship. What do you have going on for that program next?
Yeah, so the Fulbright is you kind of do, the program I applied for was like open research or open study. So I applied, you have to do like your own original research proposal basically for the Fulbright. Once again, I got super lucky because someone came in to give a talk to the Valentine lab, which I'm currently working in the chemistry department. And as this woman was talking, I was like, oh my God, your work is so interesting. And I kind of knew that she was working at a Max Planck Institute in Germany. And I kind of knew that I was interested in doing a Fulbright in Germany. So like after the talk, I went up and just introduced myself and I was like, hi, like your research sounds super interesting. Like I'm thinking of applying for a Fulbright and I would love to like connect with you or your PI to like talk about this. And she's like, yeah, she was super open. So then after that, she connected me with her PI. PI is like principal investigator, like basically your boss in research.
Got it.
So yeah, she connected me with her PI and me and her name is Dr. Serena De Beer, who works in the Max Planck Institute for Chemical Energy Conversion. So we started emailing back and forth and I was like, hey, I'm really interested in your lab. And she's like, great, like let's have a Zoom meeting where we can just like talk about the research that I have in my lab and like we can choose a project from there. So she basically just sent me over a lot of like research articles that they had published to see which one interested me the most. And then after a conversation, I selected my project. I'm going to be characterizing a bimetallic catalyst using spectroscopic methods. And basically, this catalyst can be used for hydrogen fuel cell applications by basically converting ammonia to hydrogen gas, which can then be used in hydrogen fuel cells. One of the biggest limitations for hydrogen fuel being used widely is how hard it is to transport and store hydrogen gas. So one way to bypass that is by improving the efficiency of catalysts that are used to convert other products into hydrogen gas. One said product is ammonia, and right now one of the catalysts that is used the most for that is rubidium, but it is very expensive and it'll be hard to really upscale that technology and that catalyst. So what we're hoping of doing is implementing this bimetallic catalyst that kind of reduces the cost needed to do this conversion. And then once again, you can then just transport ammonia, which is just a liquid, and it's relatively easy to transport, and a method to like produce ammonia is already very well known. So it's a relatively cheap substance that can then just be converted directly into hydrogen, like on site wherever you have a hydrogen fuel cell. The biggest issue that is happening with this catalyst is that it's basically getting deactivated through this nitrogenation process, where basically just like nitrogenous species start forming on like the iron in the catalyst. That basically makes it like not function anymore. So we're trying to prevent that by just like finding out what these compounds that are like forming on our catalyst are, and in that way we can then change the chemistry composition or chemical composition of these catalysts to then make them more efficient, and then so that we can actually use them for these applications. So yeah, sorry, that's a lot, but
it's very interesting.
Yeah. And then the other thing is it's quite hard to characterize these things, so I have to use something called X-ray absorption spectroscopy, specifically in the soft X-ray regime, and then another one called scanning X-ray microscopy. Yes, scanning X-ray microscopy. And with those two combined, hopefully we can get some data and really find out like what's happening in our system.
That's really cool. That's very interesting. So this is all like the combination between mechanical and chemical engineering. How did you go about then choosing the chemistry minor? It sounds like it's pairing perfectly with what you want to do. Did you know that when you picked it, or did it kind of lead you to that research?
As I mentioned, I think just within my environmental engineering, when I was still in that track, I knew that chemistry was going to be even helpful for that. So then once I decided to switch to mechanical, I was like, that's perfect. Like I already have this chemistry minor. And yeah, just once I started knowing that I kind of wanted to go more in this direction, I just stuck with it, and I'm really happy that I did. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your plans for after graduation? You're graduating on Thursday, 2 days at the time this is being recorded, which is very exciting. But what are your plans for after graduation? I know you have the Fulbright coming up, but what's next?
Yeah, so I'll be doing my Fulbright, so that's like a program that'll go from September to May, so it's like 10 months.
Okay.
So up till then I'll be traveling a lot, and then probably after that I'll be traveling a bit as well, and then I'll start my PhD in chemical engineering at Stanford University after that.
That's so exciting. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So are you doing it in the same lab that you did your MARC summer research in?
I'm not too sure yet, because the way that Stanford works is that once you get in, you're not paired with anyone yet. So you go through like basically your first semester of classes, and you get to do some rotations.
Okay.
So you get to rotate into 2 to 3 labs, depending if you do a summer program, usually only 2 labs. And then based off of that experience, you can then choose what professor you want to work with. They have a whole matching process, so even if you really want to work with someone, that professor also has to choose you. So just from that, like, I'm not too sure who I'll be working with, but I definitely have like a few options over there, and yeah, we'll see where what research lab I'll end up in.
That's exciting. Was the MARC program one of the reasons you applied to Stanford, or was it, I mean, you must have had a good time over there, but were there other schools but Stanford you kind of really enjoyed while you were over there?
Yeah. Stanford, yeah, when I like stepped on Stanford's campus, I like fell in love. I was like,
that's
awesome. So
awesome.
Yeah, my like eyes were aglow, and I really loved all the people there. Like, honestly, being from like a public university and a public institute, I was a little bit scared of like basically the vibe that they'd have over there. But I think everyone was super welcoming, very fun, like definitely had that Cali vibe to them all. And yeah, so like once I like realized like I kind of got over that like initial intimidation and just met a lot of the people over there, I like really fell in love with it. So that really solidified my decision for going there. But through this whole application process, yes, MARC was super, super helpful with all my college apps, like revising everything and just helping me like develop my own story and like basically work on how to express myself and my story. So definitely helped a lot with the application process. But then I did get into a few programs as well that I was like looking into, like UC Berkeley and Princeton, Georgia Tech, and a few others here and there. But those are the ones that I kind of visited. So I was definitely interested in them as well. But Stanford kind of won them over for a lot of reasons. But yeah.
That's awesome. That's super exciting. I know on top of all this, all your research, fencing, academics, you're also the president of the Temple chapter of Engineers Without Borders. So what are you working on with that?
Yes. I love that organization so much. But basically right now, we have 2 main projects. So we have our international project, in which we're collaborating with the Nueva Jerusalem community in Ecuador. So it is a very large-scale sanitation project. And basically we're working on designing and then hopefully constructing for all like 300 members of the community, around 55 households, like individual household latrines for everyone. The only issue is that this community is like right next to the Napo River, which is like massive river, and they experience a ton of flooding. They're also in the in the Amazonian region, like right on the edge of like the Amazon rainforest. So they get a ton of rain and a ton of flooding periodically throughout the year. So when it comes to trying to develop a reliable sanitation system, like basically septic systems are a no-go because you can't really reliably make a leach field. So on the design aspect, there's been a lot of kind of hardships that we've been trying to go over.
Okay.
Yeah, but right now we're preparing actually for our first pilot implementation trip this upcoming May. We're going to be traveling starting on May 22nd. So we'll be making our way up there to Ecuador, and then we'll be building 6 latrines. So we're going to be building 3 latrines of each design, and then we get to monitor them for the like next year to just see which one's working the best, which one the community likes the most and is most comfortable using, and like just which one suits the community the best. And then from that, we'll make any adjustments needed to the design, but then we'll be doing the like full-scale implementation into all households, using that like optimal design the following year, hopefully in May as well.
Okay, that's awesome. Are you going to be as part of the follow-up trip the following year, or is that kind of when you transition out as president of the Temple chapter?
Yeah, that's when I transition out. So I did have the opportunity to go on our assessment trip last year.
Okay.
So I was able to like meet the community and just form some connections. And my family is originally from Mexico, so I speak Spanish fluently.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so that helped. I was like me and another professor were like the only translators on the trip. So while that was like a little heavy, it was really cool because I got to have a lot of one-on-one conversations with the community to like really see what issues and hardships they're facing and just like discuss them and just get to know them so that we can better design this solution for them. So that was really cool. So I'll be traveling again this year, but then I'll be handing it off to like our incoming president, Tanishka Shah, and then our international project lead, Fabiana Rizzo. So I think the project will be in great hands. But yeah, at that point, I'll probably take a step back. But as I always tell them, like, I'll love to still be involved. Like, I'll still try to, like, read and revise any of the reports that we have to submit and things of that nature.
That's awesome. So when you said you were traveling after graduation, you're traveling to do this engineering project and then traveling again in September to Germany to do your Fulbright.
I have a few trips in between.
Okay.
But yeah.
So I am going to come back to that list of awards I talked about at the beginning that you've won. I'm sure I'm missing some here in your 4 years at Temple. So you're a member of the Temple fencing team. You're the president of Engineers Without Borders, Fulbright recipient, Goldwater Scholar, Arthur Ashe Sports Scholar. You're on the President's Honor Roll. You were recently named Temple Trustee 10, which is top 10 student athletes with the highest GPA at Temple, correct?
Yeah.
That's amazing. And you also recently won the Joanne A. Epps Female Scholar Athlete of the Year, also part of Temple Athletics. Mm-hmm. So that's a crazy resume. For 4 years, you got all this research, you have all these awards with sports. What advice do you have for undergraduate students coming in to take advantage of everything that Temple has to offer?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, as you said, just take advantage of everything that Temple has to offer. I feel like there's so many opportunities on this campus. I think the other thing is, like, I feel like a lot of people are a little bit scared to, like, especially go into research, or, like, especially if they're student athletes as well, they're a bit scared not knowing if they'll be able to handle, like, a lot of extracurriculars in addition to their sport and academics. But I feel like the biggest thing is to just at least try it. Like, the worst that can happen is that you try signing up for a club and you're like, this is too much, so you take a step down. We'll just try it and see where it takes you. And I think the other thing is networking, and also not forgetting that your peers are networks as well. Like, I feel like a lot of the opportunities that I found and have taken are just through my friends kind of talking about this, like, cool experience or, like, a cool person that they met. And I was like, oh, I feel like I'd also be interested in that. And also similarly, you yourself talking to friends about any opportunities or experiences that you've had, and hopefully kind of, like, pushing them into that space as well to just, like, mutually bring everyone up.
That's awesome. I think people forget, too, that your peers, your friends, are also a network. That's how you find out about all this stuff. Mm-hmm. Well, that's amazing. I know we definitely can't wait to see where your research in Germany takes you and your journey at Stanford. And then congratulations again on graduating this Thursday. That's awesome.